Okay. Good
Hi,
morning.
Rachel. Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Hi.
Uh, how you doing this morning, Tara?
I'm good. I am it's very cloudy and cool here, but we're looking at 90s next week for the weather, so we have to s- soak this in, this little cool bit. But I'm exhausted too because you know what I did yesterday?
Tell me, what did you do yesterday?
I went rowing in a sweep boat with women for my team for the first time since fall 2019.
That's amazing.
I know, amazing.
So,
And here's kind of a sticky question that I would pose to you and to the group. So Vashon's sort of a loose, you know, follow the rules or don't kind of place, right? And but there are definitely people in the world on the team that are rule followers, and there are people on the team who are like, I don't care, let's just have some fun, right? So when you put together 8 people in one boat, there's going to be a mix.
yeah.
So the head coach, so there's a woman in my learn to row class named Laura, and Laura literally has never been on the water before. She has had one learn to row class. And our head coach, Ben, said to her, "Go ahead and show up and get in that 8 on a Thursday morning."
Yeah.
Totally encouraged her and got her invited, and she showed up, and I swear to you, half the boat was like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like, we're here to row. We're not here to teach you how to
Yeah.
row. Like, she had never even gotten in a boat before.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
never held an oar before.
Yeah. And you're getting together this 8 with the thinking like
Of like
we're
Boston.
gonna go to Boston, and you've got
Right.
this brand new rower in the boat. Yeah.
So I was trying not to say anything or do anything. I felt like it was kind of a big mistake, but kudos to her for trying. I mean, kudos to her. She showed up. She wasn't, I think she was very aware of the fact that she hadn't done anything. But unfortunately, her bow seat was real bossy and was real, like the person right behind her was real bossy and just really like, do this, do this, do this, do this, this,
Yeah.
this. And the rest of us were either very quiet because we didn't want to have an opinion or were miffed by the whole process.
Yeah.
So, like Aiden, in the middle of practice, our coach Aiden, he like teaches her how to feather. And we're
Uh-huh.
all like, we've been racing for like 20 years. And,
Yeah.
but I was like, okay, I'm not going to give off this air of being annoyed, right? I'm just here to row. I know this is going to be a tech day. It's just going to be, by fours, whatever. So she sends me an email last night and says, "What do you think I should do?" Because I'm her
Mhm.
learn to row coach. And I
Mhm.
gave her my honest opinion. I said, there are more experienced people who weren't able to row yesterday who want to be in that boat. So you might end up being a sub, and you might end up being in one of the lineups that preps this boat for racing at a regatta. But I said I would really wait to even make any decision about being in this boat until you finish learn to row,
Yeah.
because there's so much to learn about
Yeah.
rowing and about boats. I said I would just advise that you wait until 3 weeks from now. I mean, it's only 3 weeks
Mhm.
from now.
Yeah.
So that was my advice. If anybody else has any advice, I mean, I totally admire her gumption for showing up, and she hung with it. But I'm sure it was not fun for her, you know.
Yeah, that must be hard.
But we weren't. It was more interesting was the dynamic of the team's response. She said she characterized it as that the people were surprised that she was there, having
Yeah.
never rowed before. So
Right.
anyway,
Yeah.
very interesting. But I got to sit in my sweet spot 5 seat, and
Yeah.
I'm happy there, starboard. But I felt like hell for the rest of the day and had to take 4 Advil before I went to bed.
Oh man. So here, right, this sounds like a dilemma that a lot of masters clubs have. We are really excited when we've got learn to rowers who are excited about rowing. And with a small club like yours, there's an opportunity to fold them in, right? Just fold them in, get them going. They're going to learn. The learning curve is going to be huge, but they're going to learn a ton from really experienced rowers. But then you've got the rowers who have 20 years of experience who are like, and trying, like you were saying, like just being in the boat, trying to be a good supportive teammate, but really you just want to go. And I'm really torn about that. Like, certainly, I think that someone with zero boat experience should probably not be sitting in a boat full of women who are thinking about going to the Charles. Like, she's not ready. But I think this is an interesting question about how clubs handle the movement of rowers from learn to row into whatever your next level is. Some clubs call it, club, some call it sweep, some call it competitive, whatever it is. How do you handle that transition? I've rowed for and coached for a couple different clubs that handle it in different ways. One that basically feeds right from learn to row into the club sweep program, and another that hangs on to their learn to rows in a novice program, so that novice group rows together the rest of the season.
Yeah,
And
I love that. I know Three Rivers has what's called the novice team, and people can roll into this novice team, and it lasts for a year. You pay for a whole year, and I love that idea. And I have to say that Rachel's comment, Rachel Lucas's comment about identifying certain regattas or for experienced people or not experienced people. I'm also of that mindset. And I did say to Laura, I'm like, I said to me, I'm not going to speak for the team, but to me, the Charles is the Super Bowl. People train for months and months and months for the Charles. There's often competition to even get a seat in a boat that goes to the Charles. You're expected to do well. And you travel 3,000 miles for 20 minutes.
right.
Right.
Of a very challenging race, challenging course. Yeah.
And I said that has little margin for error, if any.
Yeah.
And I said, but that's just my personal take on it. Other people might say, I don't know, I'm rich and I have a lot of money and I don't really care. And I just go to the Charles because it's fun, and I'm like, okay, if that's your investment of your
Yeah.
time. But then I've seen the other end of the spectrum, which is like college club. College club Seattle has been preparing for the Charles. Like that's all they do is to prepare for that all day long,
Mhm.
like all year round, because that's kind of their Super Bowl. So I don't know. I wanted to support her, but I also didn't want to. I really honor the fact that we all have as much experience as we have, and I think that it needs to be matched. I don't want this late in the game. It's July.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in someone getting up to speed in 50 different ways. I'm interested in people getting up to speed in like 4 different ways.
Right. Right.
You know,
Getting that group of 8 together and building the crew for Head of the Charles, and building your fitness and endurance, really. Like, that's where you guys should be right now.
so
So
I want to speak to Paul's comment. He just
yeah.
made a So Paul, I wanted to tell you that if you have a learn to rower with this issue, that's actually something that you can work on halfway through your class. So I provide a whole like self-evaluation and knowledge, skills, and abilities thing that's all self-managed by the rowers themselves, so they can see that they're not getting it and they can see where they're not getting it along the way, rather than you allowing, for instance, someone who can't read to graduate from first grade. Like they don't even get that far.
Yeah.
Like they don't get to that point. So if you ever want to see that information, I'm happy to share it.
I actually really do. This is something that you've mentioned more than once, and I would love to see it. I think somewhere in the past I've seen some sort of KSAs for rowers, but I don't have that anymore. I don't know what happened to it. So
Yeah,
that's something I'd love to see. Maybe
it
you could
helps.
send that my way, and I'll make sure to share it out.
Yeah, it's something that I developed as a coach because I got in trouble my first year of coaching Learn to Row, because the rowers that I handed off to the master's team were still projects. They had not. So what I needed to do was I needed to meet with what I called the receiving end and the receiving coaches and say, what do you want? What do you want me to deliver to you? What's the
Mhm.
minimum you want me to deliver to you? And this knowledge, skills, and abilities worksheet has everything from boatmanship to square blades to certain drills to stroke rates. And they have to have either knowledge, competency, or proficiency. So they need to have proficiency in, for instance, carrying a boat and carrying oars and setting their feet, right? But they only need to have like knowledge of builders,
Hmm.
stroke rate builders,
Hmm.
or they need to have at least had them once, a stroke rate builder, or a pacing exercise or something like that. That's a little bit more advanced. But like I was handing them off without having taught them pause drill or having gone above a 24 or having, so after that, I really changed my course. So I'd happy to share it. It's really helpful for learn to row coaches. And then there's also a learn to rower self-evaluation that they say, here's what I'm stuck on. Here's what I'm having trouble
Yeah.
with. Um, and then some people, honestly, are just single scullers. Some people come into a big team learn to row program and they're not team rowers. They're single scullers, 100%.
Yeah. Well, I think this is an interesting question too. So Paul is with DC Strokes. I know Paul. This is a great question. Not only for learn to rowers, but like how many of us as coaches, have had rowers in more advanced programs who kind of aren't up to speed with the rest of the crew. I've been thinking about this week in terms of rowers who maybe just aren't getting it. No matter how many times we explain something, however many times we kind of work on drills on certain things, there are rowers who just don't have like the kinesthetic awareness to get their bodies in the positions they need to, and it can really be a detriment to a crew. But this is
Yes.
an adult who's paid their membership, and what do we do with them? We can't
Yeah.
get them off the
I
team.
yeah, and I love the idea of giving people a second chance in some sort of like development capacity. The Learn to Row program that I used to teach was a Parks Department program, and we had Learn to Row 1, Learn to Row 2, and then when they would graduate into Masters 301 or 401. And 401 was a competitive group that met separately, had a different training schedule, and they all were at a certain level, and there was an erg or a training component or not a component, eligibility requirement for that. And even in a Parks Department program, that's tricky because that doesn't show that you're showing public access. It shows that you're doing exclusive access, so you have to be really careful. But they were given like 4 levels, and we would actually really articulate to them, by the time you finish this class, you must be able to do this. Now, you also have rowers who are broken, overweight, not that broken people and overweight people are broken, but you have people who are broken, people who are not fit, people who have big tummies, who can't do bodies over, people who don't fit in the boat. I've had 300 or level, at the 300 level, we had like a 6'9" guy that just didn't fit any boat that we had in the shop. I think there's so many different ways of looking at it.
Mhm.
And you can't make any commentary on a lot of those things. If they don't have a right arm that works properly, if they can't hear in the boat, if they have hearing loss and they can't hear the coach, and you're constantly having to have someone relay the information. So there's all kinds of things, because we're grown-ups, we're adults, we're not all perfect Olympian specimens, right?
We're not.
So
Speak for yourself.
I know. So at the heart of it is the culture of the boathouse, right? And we've talked a lot about this. Culture of the boathouse needs to be come one, come all, and we'll make it work. Okay. And there's no ideal. I think that's the thing, is that sometimes you go into these uh boathouses and they have it's like I've heard about Sammamish Rowing Club, that it's really like up here and you have to look this way and you have to be this way, and that everybody's really clear that they don't fit in if they don't meet this model, with the same erg scores, or they don't train 5 days a week, or things like that. And it's really got to get away from that and get back into the community rowing model. And it's just, man, we're just out to have a good time. And
Yeah.
if you, and like Paul's point, I think it was Paul that said, or Rachel, if you have a regatta that requires a certain level of competitiveness, articulate that. Don't mask it. Don't be ambivalent about it. Say, this regatta requires 5 years of rowing experience, this type of erg score, 4 practices a week, this much money. Be so
Yeah.
transparent, and people will self-select.
Mhm.
Maybe some people will still find their way into it that don't need to be there. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but we are a community and we have to figure out how to bring those people up.
Yeah.
who don't get it, whatever it is, because they're there for a reason and they love it for a reason,
Mhm. I
I have
like
a
what Katie says here about the learn to rows, and like basically what she's saying is be patient. We are asking adults who have never rowed before to learn something brand new and figure out how to use their bodies in new ways. And doing that as an adult in 6 to 8 weeks, and even 6 to 8 weeks is generous. Like DC Strokes, we're running our learn to row programs in like 2 to 3 weekends, 2 to 3 weeks. So certainly by the end of learn to row, I don't think that I expect rowers to be like proficient, but I
yeah,
guess I think Paul's question may have been or leaning towards, and certainly what I'm talking about is rowers who maybe have been at it for a couple of seasons and still really aren't seeing progress. I've seen rowers like that across, for a long time. And basically what you're saying, and I support what you're saying, Tara, which is, we're part of a community program and folks are participating for various reasons. And as long as they're showing up and trying, we as coaches have to figure out what's going on, what they're there for, how we can help them out. It can be frustrating for other rowers who are making progress. Um,
yeah, and I would say that, I would recommend to people private lessons when they were really struggling. I would say,
mhm,
"Hey, we need to have a private session because this is," and you tell them about the consequence. Rowing is an interdependent sport. If someone really is just like lunging, 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 that's a problem. I mean, that's really holding up. It's potentially a dangerous situation for people who are going to compensate and try and fix that. The other thing is like, I believe in the 3 month learn to row. I used to teach 3 month long learn to row. Those people bonded like no one's business. Like they would move up as 20 people into the masters club.
mhm,
And the other thing I love is that Three Rivers does that all year long novice team. You
mhm,
just stay on that novice team for a whole year. You get really honed, you really get to know each other, you really bond, and then you have your choice of where you go. I believe in the 3 month learn to row. I don't believe in a 4 week learn to row, but it's also very much the character of Vashon Island. It's like
yeah.
whatever. Um, yeah, it's frustrating for me to only teach it for 4 weekends. Um, but I also teach in a special way where I really try to see them. I don't push them along. I'm like, okay, let's just see where you're at and tell them what they're really good at and then say, here's what you need to work on.
Mhm, yeah.
So
The other night I was coaching and we were talking about fun. We were talking about fun and finding fun.
yeah.
It had kind of, I mean, it was a good practice, but it was very technical. It was hot, so everybody was kind of, a little bit tired and cranky by the end of practice. But we were talking about how technique plus power equals fun, right? Like when you get your technique together and you've got power behind your stroke, the boat moves and that's fun. So let's seek out fun by developing our technique, building our strength. And then when the boat picks up and goes, we're like, oh my God, this is the fun that I've been looking for.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting and it's good that you identify what fun can be because everybody has a different variation on what they think is fun.
Yeah, sure.
Um some people like to suffer, that's fun for them, and some
Yeah,
people like to joke around.
yeah,
I have a question for people though.
yeah.
There was so much talking in this boat yesterday. I am I'm a I don't talk when I row. I mean, I'm just like, zip it. I make no comments even about fucking birds. I don't care. I'm like, because I know what I'm doing is I'm distracting myself from something. And I'm just like, just stay here. Right. So chime in on your thoughts on talking in the boat. I know, Rachel, you're a talker. So
Not anymore, thank you. I was as a new rower. As a new
so,
rower, I
right.
definitely was,
As
yeah.
a yeah, so sheriff, if you're a pro, yes for talking in the boat, no for talking in the boat. And what I mean is like disruptive talking, not just like how was your weekend while we're sitting waiting for the coach. I mean like yelling at each other. We have
Yeah.
someone on the team who's going to come and row in this 8 who is out of town right now and she's the one that yells like expletives while we race. It's like, Oh my god. Oh my.
Oh yeah, we had a guy, this is a bunch of years ago, but yeah, he was first of all, he was a big guy. Like he was a good like 6'2", big guy, good deep voice, and he was a swearer from like the middle of the boat all the time. And I remember talking with him and another guy who was like a big, heavy, like grunter.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I
yeah.
I asked them to like take all that energy that they were using swearing and grunting and like literally just like push it out at the finish,
Yeah.
ground themselves to the boat, and don't waste that energy swearing. Like it's not helping. It can
Yeah.
feel really good though in the moment. It can feel really good in the moment.
So, Rachel, Lucas, I love what you said because people say the same thing about me all the time. Because seriously, obviously, I'm a chatty person and I'm pretty extroverted and I love to talk to people and I love to coach as a coach in a boat, that's even more challenging when you're a coach and you see something happening. Like yesterday, my person behind me said, "Hey Tara, can you take a look and see if I'm dropping my shoulder at the catch?" And I just turned around and she took a stroke and I was like, "Yep." I said, "Okay." I said, "Go think about this." I said, "Just I wasn't wear and you know what, guys? Just remember in head racing season and head racing training, it's always nice to wear a shirt that has something on the back. Wear something, my favorite are marathon shirts that have all the logos all over the back. Oh my god. But it's hard to turn that off. But Rachel Lucas, I agree with you. People always thought I was pissed because I was just quiet in the boat. And I'm like, no, I'm just trying to set myself up for success here. And it should be fine to be however you want to be at all times, except don't be a jerk. But, like we need to have a little more forgiveness, people.
I know when I'm rowing, I try to turn off my coxswain brain, and um, I do that. Or when I'm rowing, I try to shut off my coxswain and coach's brain, and just be a rower. And I get really quiet because even though I think I know what needs to be happening, I want to listen to the coach, right? Because the
Oh,
coach is
talking over
probably
the
going
coach,
to.
big no no. Mm-mm.
What's that?
Talking over the coach.
Oh,
Mm-mm.
yeah,
No.
no.
That's bad. When the coxswain talks over the coach.
Oh, that drives me crazy.
That's that's what Katie Brennan saying. The coxswains driver bananas. Like, yeah, no. I always pick coxswains for learn to row classes and novice classes that don't know anything and
Mm,
just zip it, just drive.
yeah, it's an interesting balance, an interesting relationship that coaches and coxswains have to develop, because I know that sometimes when I'm coaching, the coxswain needs to communicate to their crew, and I wait to interject when I can tell that the coxswain's not going to say anything, and I would like that to be reciprocal for the coxswains to wait if I'm talking to then come back in and do whatever they need to do. But sometimes it's just like,
But I think a big person, one person that's not factored into that little equation is the stroke. And the
yeah,
stroke, I often give the responsibility to the stroke to say, "Up, coach is talking,"
yeah, yeah. I
because
like that.
is not looking around. They're not. The coach may be over here. You know, and one thing I wanted to mention is when I teach coxing, I think I've told you this before. I teach level 1, level 2, level 3 coxing, right? And level 1 coxing is shut up and steer. Like they don't even call the drills. The coach calls the drills from the launch boat as we're driving along. Like yesterday, that's what he did.
Mhm,
Level 2 coxing is you can call drills, count, and steer, but nothing else. Level
mhm,
3 coxing is you get to have an opinion,
mhm.
and only people like Rachel and myself, if you're a coach and can cox, like that's a level 3 coxswain. Other or like Mary Whipple, like you can go ahead and have an opinion, but otherwise you don't get to have an opinion. You're doing is steering and counting. That's it. That's
Yeah,
it. That's it.
yeah,
No, come on, 3 seat. No, force. Whatever with your blade. No, none of that. Just a bit.
yeah. And sometimes, especially with newer coxswains, that can just be detrimental. Like they think they're trying to say the right thing, but they don't really know what they're talking about.
Oh my
So
God.
it's a big part of my coaching is coaching coxswains, and I do that a lot because when I was like probably my first 10 years of rowing and then getting into coxing, I didn't get a lot of coaching. So I didn't know what I was doing, and I'm sure that my rowers thought I was bonkers when I was trying to cox them. Like, I was yelling, and I didn't know anything. Like, I just didn't know what was happening. I
Right.
probably didn't steer good lines, all that sort of stuff. So a big piece of coaching every single day for me is making sure that I'm also coaching the coxswains.
Yeah.
And some people I think are just like, just let us go, you know? So there's that piece of it too, is like the coxswain has to figure it out and just let them figure it out, let them steer,
Right.
let them screw up a couple times.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that having the stroke assigned as the second in command in the boat, second pair of eyes and ears for the listening to the coach, because sometimes the coxswain will be like trying to be like, okay, two seat scullet, and the coach is talking, and the stroke needs to be listening to the coach, and then the stroke can relay to the coxswain. Because what if the coxswain's trying to avoid something or go
Mhm.
around something, and they're trying to get to where they're supposed to be for the start of the piece, right? Let the coxswain do their job, and the stroke can listen, but when you have like five people relaying information down to the coxswain, I mean any coxswain would be like, help me god, like that's bananas. So if you assign the stroke as their second in command,
Yeah.
they relay the information, they absorb the information, they house all the stuff, and they can say, okay, you need to go over here, and they're a team. I think the stroke and the cox are a team, and they should have a really good relationship for sure. Well,
Yeah.
this is fascinating. I love talking about all of this stuff. It's our
Yeah.
6. Um,
So we've got a new episode coming out. Should we tell folks about it?
yeah, I'm gonna go home and finish it this morning, and it's Jasper Liu, and he's on the national team rowing the doubles with Zach Heese, and he's training down in Austin right now. So we had a little conversation with Jasper Liu.
Yeah, and he's a real technical rower kind of guy. He's in his 20s, I believe. He just started to row in college. Now he's rowing lightweight on the national team with his eyes set on London 2024. And he's also the founder of rowingdojo.com. Hey, cutie. So if you have a second, check out rowingdojo.com. He's sharing information from some of the best coaches in the country there. Our episode with him drops Saturday.
Yep, yep. I'm gonna
Oh,
go home and
yeah.
finish it. There's that, and then this week there's been a couple of U.S. rowing events. The first one was a town hall about venue selection that was held on Tuesday, I believe, and I don't think neither Rachel or I went to that. So if you went to that, give us a report on how that went, because I'm sure it was spicy. If they were talking about Florida,
Hmm. Yeah, I
yes.
need to.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say I need to check in with folks from DC Strokes about that. I know that DC Strokes has been the venue selection piece has been top of mind for them because of Masters Nationals being held in Florida, and I think their boycott really helped push U.S. rowing to bring their venue selection process to the public and make it a little bit more transparent. So I need to catch up and see how that went and how folks from DC Strokes are thinking about that. And then, like you were about to say, there was another U.S. rowing event that happened yesterday. You sat on a panel.
Yes, they asked. I think there were 5 of us to be storytellers, is what they called us, storytellers. And this was a town hall excuse me, celebrating Title IX, which was the movement or the law passed in 1972 to sort of level the playing field, literally, for women in sports, level the funding field, essentially, which allowed for more women's sports to happen. And they asked Sarah Lopez from George Pocock Rowing Foundation, also Connor Rowing Club, my former club, Ellen Minstner from U.S. Rowing National Team, and um, Miriam from Nathan Benderson, Kim
Mhm.
Reynolds from Chicago, and myself. I think that
Mhm.
was it.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it was really good. We each told a story or spoke for about 5 minutes about some aspect of being a woman in rowing and
Mhm.
the concept of women in rowing. I don't know. How do you think it all went?
No, I thought it was nice. No, I don't know. I thought it was nice, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It was I don't know what I expected out of it, but it was like really respectful, which I appreciated. Everyone kind of brought their own personal story with rowing to the conversation. And I appreciated a couple of the women speaking about rowing really like in the 70s and kind of what was happening, not just in their lives, but kind of in the rowing world at that time and how that's led us to where we are today. Um, and then we went into the breakout sessions and we had the opportunity to talk in a small group about rowing, women in rowing. In my little group, it actually kind of turned into this conversation about how rowing saves lives, which is something that we've heard a lot. You get into rowing as an adult because XYZ, fill in the blank, you know, a divorce, a death in the family, an injury that you're rehabbing, whatever it is. And so we had a nice little like 5-minute conversation in this breakout session about how rowing has saved each of our lives, which was like not at all, I think, what was intended to come out of those breakout sessions, but it was really nice. And coming out of that, so in my session was Miriam Ward, who is a muckety muck at Nathan Benderson Park in Florida. So I'm really excited because I got to connect with her. And now she wants to sit down and talk with us, Tara, for maybe the
Yeah,
podcast.
I'm really excited about that. And
Yeah. The one thing I would say about the Title IX discussion yesterday was even though it was titled something like, women in rowing, and I appreciated how many women were there, that should not preclude men from attending. And I think if there were 3 men there, that was a lot.
yes,
And so
and
that's a little disappointing.
interestingly enough, the man that was in my breakout room completely dominated it, talked in circles. It was like he had been blown up like a balloon and during the whole presentation and just needed to pop. Like he
Uh-huh.
just had to say, and it was didn't make any sense. He said like 15 things all at once, and then he stopped himself and he goes, "Oh, sorry, ladies, too much."
He
And I
was
was
an
like,
older gentleman, right? Yeah. Yeah. So and what he was saying was, like, not helpful, not supportive, he was just hmm.
he was ranting about how Poughkeepsie High School. First, he bragged. First, he did this like we were like, "Okay, go ahead and speak." And he bragged for like a solid 2 minutes about his high school rowing team that he's worked with for so many years, and he was name dropping, and I've rowed since 1968, and da, 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 da. I mean, he just was like name dropping, date dropping.
Huh.
It was all these like qualifiers. Like he was really just trying to posture himself. We were just
Hmm.
all like, what?
Hmm.
And he and his whole point was that we needed to fund high school rowing better. And I was like,
Okay.
okay,
Okay.
great. You're
Well, he's exactly the guy 'cause I think I know exactly who you're talking about because there were so few men there. Um, at least he was there, right? Like, he is of the old white dude generation that we are trying to reach, so I guess I'm glad that he was sitting in on this conversation about
but I
women in
have to
sport.
I after he spoke, I had to say to myself, like, he literally just came here and sat through all of that
So
so
he could.
that we need to fund high school rowing. I
Huh.
mean, not even like there were people wiping tears when people were telling their stories. There were
Yeah.
people who were like, "Oh my god, that was so emotional." There was so much good feedback. He didn't say one thing about
Yeah.
any of those presenters.
Yeah.
And our facilitator was like, "So, how was that for everyone?"
Yeah.
And he was just
Hmm.
like, "I've been rowing since 1968, and I know this person and that person, and over here in Poughkeepsie, and blah 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 blah." And he was on and on and on and on and on. And I was
I
like,
hope he actually spoke that way. Yeah.
"He did.
Yeah.
He was
Oh, man.
totally. It was like he didn't even know." He was like,
Yeah.
I was like, maybe you need to find yourself another forum,
Yep.
like another platform. And I
Yep.
said that to him, I said, I appreciate what you're saying, but that's not what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
like, like.
Oh, hey, Tara, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go like I'm gonna U-turn for a second, okay? So we talked about the venue selection thing. And as part of that about Masters Nationals in Florida. I think we mentioned last week, but I don't remember, that East Bay Rowing Club in Oakland, California has stepped up and they are putting together Boats Without Barriers, a new regatta to be held on August 20th. And they are promoting it as an alternative to US Rowing Masters Nationals, which is huge. And props to them for offering that opportunity. They're even selling some cute little T-shirts. I know DC Strokes is starting to flirt with the idea of sending some rowers out there, and there's a little bit of interest. So keep posted. I have some logistics to work out, but I'm hoping to get myself to Boats Without Barriers in August, and I will be probably looking for a team I can sit in a boat with. So I hope it works out.
That'll be so fun. That'll be
Yeah.
so fun.
So hey, it looks like you need to go. You're literally getting up and going. So
No, the dog started barking. Margot is recording a podcast, so I had to like sneak away, because the dogs start barking, and they just heard me close the car door, so they started barking, and she's
oh,
in the
got
middle
it.
of, so I'm having to like, you know, no, I'm fine.
This is
I'm
your
fine.
this is your quiet room, your soundproof room in the
This is
car.
my room.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention Boston again. We talked about Boston a little bit. Oh, and Steady State Network is brought to you by Concept 2 and Lake Washington Rowing Club. Awesome. I looked at tickets yesterday for Boston for Thursday through Monday, and it's reasonable. It's $500 for me to fly out, and I'm super excited to just get the ball rolling. I didn't buy a ticket yet, but I'm
All right.
the ball.
So we know that you're looking to go to Boston with Vashon Crew. We've also started talking a bit about putting together a mixed eight or women's eight, whichever, to row in the Director's Challenge event at Head of Charles. And I know we've been kind of like tap dancing around it. And last week when we were talking about it during coffee chat, Willow Arts was here, and Willow was like, I want to do it, and has been in touch with me throughout the week about wanting to do it and pulling together some other teammates. So I think we could officially announce that we're really going to try to make this happen. This is big. We did this last year with nationals, but this is Head of the Charles. But stay tuned because we are going to be officially announcing it, and there will be like a little registration link on our website. I'm going to try and make that happen in the next couple of days because there are only 4 spots left in the Director's Challenge. So if we want to do it, we got to get in there quickly.
Yeah, and that's about $2,500 to do the Director's Challenge.
I don't think it's even that much. I need to double check. I do not think it's that much.
Yeah.
But we'll figure out all the logistics. We are looking to have all of our crew members pay their own way. The Director's Challenge is a fundraiser really for the Head of the Charles endowment. And so we cannot offer to cover that for everyone. So we hope to find some folks who can help put this boat out and are able and willing to help finance this and know that their money is going to a good cause when they sit down and row the Director's Challenge with us.
Yeah. So just to be clear,
yeah,
you get yourself there, you pay to be in the boat, you get probably a shirt from us as part of your whole racing fee. You put yourself up, the whole thing, and you show up, and hopefully we get to row the boat on Friday, and then row the boat again Sunday night. Now know that event is the very, very, very last event in the entire event. So it's like at 4:00 on Sunday. But it's really fun. We did it for Masters Nationals. We all met up, we had drinks and pizza, and we had a great time, and we all had that in common, that we were willing to just be like, okay, let's just see how it goes.
Yeah.
So there,
to
our earlier point though, there is kind of an expectation that how to sweep and you have been training for for a head race, and there's like an expectation there. So just checking the box and saying, oh, I haven't rowed all year, it's not really gonna fly, but
Yeah, but yes, exactly. So we're hoping to get some experienced sweep rowers in boat with us to have a good, solid row down the course, and we'll go out for drinks afterwards in Boston. And take a look for that information on our socials and website very, very soon. So
yeah, I know we've had at least 3 people. I've heard from 3 people who want to be in it, so that'd be fun.
okay, excellent. So it's coming together already.
Yes, and Rachel, I think you are thinking about maybe coxing this boat.
Me? Yes. Yes. I would love to. I still have not rowed the Charles. I've coxed it 5 times, but I have not rowed it. This is not going to be my year to row it. I have not been rowing or training this year, and it just wouldn't be fair. So I am going to offer to cox this event. I think it would be a ton of fun, and we'll put together a good crew to get us down the course.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited because if I get to row the Vashon 8 and then get to row Directors Cup 8, I will have fulfilled my mission of rowing the 8 on the Charles. Not once, but twice.
Nice. Awesome. All right. Well, we're going to make it happen.
Okay. You're the best.
Okay, you're the best. All right, and you're all the best for joining us. We hope you come back next Friday for Coffee Chat. I'm glad that you have found us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube after our switch over from Instagram. I know it took a couple weeks, but this is our platform now, and it's awesome being able to chat with you here. So have a great weekend, everybody.
Yep. See ya.
All right. Bye.
Bye.